PlayStation Store summer sale continues to truck on by, and while I don't think this is the best PlayStation Store sale we've ever seen, we do have some awesome deals for games under $5 and $10. I made a video last week about games under $5. You can check that out up above or on the link in the description down below. But this video here, we're going to be looking at all the games between the $5 and $10 price point on the PlayStation Store summer sale that I think are worth buying. They're not hot enough for summer, but there's some pretty good games in here. Now, if you're one of the real ones, you'll go and leave a like down below before we even start this video, because you know it's going to be good before you even watch it. If not, come back and like it at the end. If you want to see a part 3 to this series, maybe looking at a different group of games at the PlayStation Store summer sale, we're going to need this video to get to 250 likes down below. Also, leave a comment letting me know you want to see a part 3 and what you would like a part 3 in this video series to be. Maybe games under $20, games under $25. I would love to get everyone's thoughts down below on whether you want to see it and what you would actually want to see as well. But let's kick straight into the video. The first game up on this list is Bloodborne for $10. Now, a lot of people say Bloodborne is for everybody, and I don't think that is true. I don't think it is for everybody. The game is quite complex and it is very unique in terms of how it plays and what it actually is. The game at heart, I guess, is an action-adventure RPG game, but it fits into a genre called Souls-like games. Basically games based on the Dark Souls style of combat, which basically means enemies hit harder and are way more difficult to kill. Your characters are kind of a bit more slow, and you have to kind of think out things a little bit. It's more slow and methodical. The games tend to be more convoluted as well, so you do have to figure a lot of stuff out for yourself, but it is a very rewarding gameplay system when you get down to it. I absolutely loved Bloodborne and is one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 4, but I don't think it's for everyone. I think it does require a particular level of patience and a particular gameplay style to enjoy it, and this does have sort of a gothic horror sitting on it as well. So if you're a massive fan of Castlevania like I am, Castlevania Symphony of the Night being one of my favorite games, you'll understand why I love Bloodborne just so much, because the two genres pretty much mix, and I kind of pretended I was playing Castlevania when I was playing Bloodborne. Speaking of blood and Castlevania, we have Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2, basically a Castlevania clone. Developed actually by the original creator of Castlevania, which is, I know, a kind of a weird one, and we've definitely hit 2 segues here, which I'm very happy with. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon 2 is a kind of spin-off of the Bloodstained franchise. The original Bloodstained game was more of a very traditional Metroidvania, Castlevania style game. And if you're not aware of what that is, it basically means a 2D side scroller which has sort of skill-based elements and backtracking components. So you have this giant open sort of 2D based platformer world to explore, but parts of the world locked off to you and you have to come and go through them as you get different skills and abilities to go back and progress. They also normally involve a particular combat style and kind of almost a Souls-like level of complex combat. This game here though, Curse of the Moon, takes a slightly different spin. Instead of being based on Castlevania Symphony of the Night like the original Bloodstained game, this one actually is based on Castlevania 3, which is more of a very traditional 2D side-scroller, probably fitting less into the Metroidvania style, but it has a fantastic pixel art look to it, and it feels great to play. And if you enjoy Castlevania games, 2D games, or even in any of those retro games, if you're in the same age bracket as me, you're going to absolutely love this one as well. And for $8.24, it is great. Moving to something a little bit different is Far Cry 4 for $6.59. Far Cry being the, I guess, like open world first-person franchise based on you being a guy taking down a massive supervillain. I guess that's kind of the MO of every Far Cry game at this point. And Far Cry 4 is not too bad. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite Far Cry game is. I think mine is Far Cry 3. But Far Cry 4 wasn't too bad. You're in the Himalayas in this one, and you have to take down this evil dictator who's controlling the town and the village, and it's just wacky. You get this big open world, you can tackle it in any way you want, and Ubisoft games are just great for that sort of level of exploration and freedom to tackle different situations. And this is great. This one is well under $10, almost slipped into the $5 category. Now this, I believe, is my favorite Far Cry game, Far Cry 3, and this is the Classic Edition, which I don't actually know why it's called that. I think it just has all the DLC and content in it. Far Cry 3, very much like Far Cry, like we've just talked about Far Cry 4, the premise is still the same. You're a guy who lands in this place and you have to take out these big bad eccentric villains. Far Cry 3 though just has a great villain and a great setting, being the tropical island that you're on, and Vaas, who's the main, well, not really the main, but one of the main villains in this game. It also has an awesome narrative taking you from this really simple dude, and I'm gonna say dude bro, to this killing machine as you have to kind of escape this Death Island, essentially. I love this game so much, and I wanted to ask it before so I could see what people would think if they left comments below, but I'd love to see how many people think Far Cry 3 is actually the best one as well. Far Cry 2 was pretty damn good as well, but it's a bit old at this point. You can't play it on PS4, sadly. Telling Lies is a slightly different one again. This one is an FMV style game, which is full motion video. And if you're not aware of what that is, it basically means you have a actual actor acting out the role in the game. There's no CG or animated components. It's all live action, essentially. This game here, you are basically piecing together this story by searching different things into a computer system and watching different video clips from these people's lives. It is very strange and confrontational and different. And if you're looking for something you just completely left field to play at the moment, this is a good option for that. Oh, my mouth is dry. I need a bit of a sip of coffee. This is probably a good time to tell you to subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, you can go ahead and do that down below. And hit that like button if you haven't already done it at this point. Or keep waiting till the end and maybe I'll convince you soon. A bit of a guilty pleasure of mine is The Forest. This is the action survival game that came out on the PC quite a few years ago and then came to consoles a little bit later. It's got all the base survival elements in it, but it has a really cool and intriguing narrative to this one as well. And you can play it in co-op with some buddies if you want to kind of get that spook factor. If you've played this one, you know what it's like to go into the caves. And if you haven't played this one, you should play it to experience what happens when you go into the caves. It's bloody terrifying. It's a pretty scary game as well, so that's important to note. If you're not a scare fan, don't play this. It's pretty creepy. Uncharted The Lost Legacy is $10 as well. This is like the less known, or one of the least known Uncharted games. It's set after the entire Uncharted quadrilogy finishes. This one here focuses on Chloe and Nadine, so a couple of protagonists from both Uncharted 4 and Uncharted 2, and you don't actually take on the role of Nathan Drake in this game for the first time. You take on the role of somebody else. It's really nice to have a really strong female lead in an Uncharted game because that Pulp Fiction-y style really works well for a female lead in an Uncharted game, and I'd love to see Naughty Dog explore that more, or another developer explore that more from Sony in the future. It plays very much like Uncharted 4 with your narrative to cutscenes to gameplay, all transitioning really seamlessly, and these massive set piece events. It's just a slightly smaller scale event without Nate along for the journey. I'd be curious to know if anyone's played this in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of this game, and let me know what your favorite overall Uncharted game is of all time. I know I'm gonna get some hate for this, but mine's Uncharted 3. Until Dawn is an absolutely fantastic narrative-driven, choice consequence-based game. It's a horror game, so if you're not a horror fan, stay away from it, but it really does lean into the teen horror tropes, or the teen horror genre of kids going to a campsite and then a killer basically taking them all out. I'm not going to go into any more detail about the narrative because it's really about exploring for yourself, but the cool thing is you can choose whether or not any of the kids survive or die at any point in this game. They can all live or they can all die, and there's trophies for doing both, I believe. The game is just really, really fun, mixing a combination of like narrative gameplay and traditional gameplay together, making something that's very similar to what you would have played in like a Heavy Rain or a Detroit Become Human, but I actually think Until Dawn does it better than both of those games. This is a silly one that came out on the PlayStation Store and the Nintendo Switch a couple of years back now. You basically play as a goose going around bothering people. It kind of fits into that genre of silly games like Goat Simulator and things like that. You just do the goose things. You be a goose and you tell the goose to pick up and steal the guy's keys and lock the guy out and whip the guy with a hose and chase a kid with a vision impairment. Yeah, he's a pretty evil goose. The game is just simple, mindless fun, and I do recommend it for anybody. It is probably a little bit pricey at $10. I would love to see this game down to maybe $6 or $7, but I think it's still worth it to go in there and have fun with it. And it actually has a co-op mode added into the game now as well, so you can play it with a buddy and terrorize people together. Another Ubisoft game. There's a few Ubisoft games in this sale, and actually coming up on the list as well, but South Park: The Stick of Truth. A great Ubisoft game. If you're a fan of South Park, this is absolutely a must-have. It basically plays out just like an episode of the show, but just like 20 hours worth of it and longer. The comedy in this game is unrivaled. It is easily one of the funniest games available on the PlayStation 4, and I'm gonna put it up there and say it would be on a top 5 or a top 10 list of funniest games on the PlayStation 4. The game is just so satisfying to play, especially coming from someone who loves South Park and the humor around South Park. If you don't, it probably won't land quite as well. Gameplay itself is a very traditional turn-based RPG gameplay, which is so weird for a game like this, but it does just work. Think a game like Pokemon and you've kind of got a very similar gameplay style to that. It's weird and wacky and fun, and you get to explore South Park, the whole of South Park, the town, for the first time, which is also very strange as a person who watched the show for the past 20 years. Another horror game on this list is Soma. This one is $6. Soma is a first-person narrative-driven horror adventure game, I would say. And I know that is a mouthful, but it fits very similarly into what I would classify BioShock as, and it actually has a very similar tone to BioShock as well. I'm not probably going to spoil too much more about this one because I don't think it's worth spoiling, but 80% off, I think this is a really good price for this one. It doesn't have a platinum trophy though for trophy hunters out there. The game is fun. It's fun, and it is creepy and scary and intriguing, and it will keep you hooked the whole way through. Another Souls-like game, Dark Souls 2, and I think arguably the weakest in the Dark Souls franchise. Again, let me know what your favorite Dark Souls game is. I know I've asked a lot of questions in this video, but it's always good to find out what people's opinions are on these. Dark Souls 2, it plays very similarly to Bloodborne, probably a little bit more slower paced. If you're not a Souls person, you haven't played a Dark Souls game or a Bloodborne game, and you are picking between the two of these, I would probably say pick Bloodborne. I think it's a better deal. Because the game is, I think, a higher quality game than Dark Souls 2. And I think the gameplay is just a little bit more forgiving for newcomers to the Souls-like franchise. I think Dark Souls 2 is a lot more, I don't want to say hardcore, but it's a lot more of a leap. It's more complicated, I would say, with more dodging mechanics and blocking mechanics and things like that Bloodborne has, but just not maybe as deep as Dark Souls 2. If you are looking to jump in and you haven't played Dark Souls 1 or 3 or any of the other ones, you can just jump straight into Dark Souls 2. There are weird narrative elements that cross over, but it's not like a continuous narrative from 1, 2, and 3. There are like callbacks for sure, so you get something out of it if you have played them all, but there is no requirement to have played the previous iteration of the game to pick this one up. Now this one was on PlayStation Plus not long ago, Vampire. I think last year I believe it was a PlayStation Plus game. This one's $10. Vampire is like a third-person action-adventure game where you play as a vampire and you gotta go and kill humans, and well, actually you can choose to kill them or not kill them. You can kind of be a good vampire boy or a bad vampire boy. This is a AA game, 100%. It does have a lot of problems, but it's an interesting little action-adventure game if you're looking for something kind of different and something that probably wouldn't traditionally be recommended to you. This could be that option. Again, it was free on PlayStation Plus as well, so keep that in mind too. BioShock the Collection, I think maybe aside from Bloodborne, this is the best deal in the entire sale. This includes all 3 BioShock games, 1, 2, and Infinite, which are 3 absolutely superb games that I highly, highly recommend. The first one especially is just one of the best games ever made, hands down. They do have creepy elements. The first 2 kind of fit into more of probably a creepy suspense horror type genre, and then the third one more into probably a traditional first-person action-adventure game. But all 3 of them have awesome narratives to them. They have really fun, satisfying gameplay, first-person gameplay with like superpowers and things like that as well. And the settings in them are just so damn unique. They're great. They're really, really great games. They are old at this point, but the remastered collection, the collection we're talking about here, actually has been enhanced for the PlayStation 4, and it runs very, very well. Can't recommend these games enough. If you haven't played BioShock, go and pick this one up. I think this is the highlight, my personal highlight of this entire video. Watch Dogs 2 is discounted as well. This is, I think, the best Watch Dogs game out of all 3 of the Watch Dogs games that have come out so far. $10 for this one, which I think is a pretty decent price. This one takes place in San Francisco in a really unique open world setting. Basically, you play as a hacker. It's kind of Assassin's Creed, but in the future, essentially. That's essentially how it works. You can choose to play stealthy, you can choose to play loud, you can choose to be action-oriented, you can choose to let robots do things for you, but basically just a future version of Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs has gotten a pretty bad rep. I think the first game was so overhyped. The second game came out and kind of got underhyped, but I think the second game was actually a lot better. The character was really good in it, and the narrative was pretty decent, and the overall setting was actually really, really fun to explore as well. So I do vouch for Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs Legion, on the other hand, yikes, that was a mess. Hitman HD Enhanced Collection. This is 2 of the older Hitman, Absolution and Blood Money, I believe they are. These are slightly older games. Keep that in mind if you're picking this one up. If you enjoyed the new Hitman games, maybe Hitman 1, 2, or 3, the ones that have come out on the PlayStation 4 natively, this is a good chance to go back and play some of the older ones. They're basically the same thing, probably just less impressive than the newer ones is my best bet. I honestly haven't played these for a really long time, not since the PlayStation 3, and I think the PlayStation 2 when they originally came out. It's been a while since I've played these specific ones. I do remember Absolution not being quite as good as some of the previous Hitman games, but if you're enjoying that franchise, it could be a good option to check these out as well. 2 games here as well for $9, which is why I wanted to include it, even if I'm not particularly saying it's a great pickup. One Piece World Seeker is 85% off, $9. This one here is it's weird. One Piece games traditionally are fighting games or hack and slash games. This one here is more of an action adventure game. It's very similar to Dragon Ball Kakarot that came out last year. So they kind of, I think they're both the same style of game, being an open world or semi-open world action game rather than a fighting game or a hack and slash game. If you're into One Piece, this is an interesting one to play. I played some of it and I couldn't really get into it. I think there was problems. Anime games do tend to have problems because they are licensed. This one here is no exception to that. It does have issues, but if you're a One Piece fan, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this game if you played it, or if you are interested in playing it as well. Hopefully I've won you over on that like down below. Like I said, if we can get to this video to 250 likes down below, I will look at making a part 3 to this video. And you've got to leave a comment as well letting me know that you want a part 3 and what you would like to see in a part 3. $25 games, $20 games, best deals, easy platinums. Let me know down below in the comments and we'll have a bit of a chat about it, we'll make a decision, and we'll see if we make it another part. Gamers, thanks so much for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Patreons for this month, thank you so very much for helping to support the channel and keep the lights on. Patrons will be seeing their names showing up here next to me right now. Thank you to every single one of you, and also YouTube channel members as well. If you want to become a member of the YouTube channel, you can hit the join button down below. Not only do you get your name featured here at the end of every video, but you will also get exclusive emotes to you in my comment section and chat as well, and a badge next to your name showing you are a legend. Likewise, if you want to join the Patreon, link in the description down below. Thank you, each and every one of you, so very much.